Washington Beat segment tonight, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, says the Obama administration underestimated ISIS and also did not foresee the collapse of the Iraqi army. Based upon that statement, Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen reminded us that he asked John Kerry this question some time back.
Shouldn't the fighting capability of the Iraqi armed forces have been precisely the kind of thing that our intelligence services and the Obama White House National Security Council should have had a much better grasp of?
Until the fight is engaged, no, you don't know the answer to that. I think in this case...
This was not an intelligence failure?
Well, Jim, if somebody could have found out that leaders were going to literally betray and cave in and desert, that would have been terrific.
Joining us now from Washington is Mr. Rosen and Fox News chief political correspondent Carl Kerman. So, Rosen, I'm a little sympathetic to Kerry here. I think the ISIS failure of intel is much, much greater than the Iraqi failure. We don't have anybody monitoring the Iraqi army. President Obama pulled everybody out of there. We got a big CIA station there. Maybe they should have known the Iraqi army was corrupt and wouldn't fight, maybe. The ISIS thing, I think, is just appalling. But Kerry's kind of caught in the middle because he wasn't Secretary of State when all these decisions were made.
Look, Secretary Kerry's answer to me amounted, in essence, to we couldn't have known. What General Clapper, in his mea culpa to the Washington Post, David Ignatius, essentially his answer amounted to was we should have known, and we didn't. And that's exactly what I was driving at with Secretary Kerry. Rare, Bill, are the occasions when you have a job like mine where you can wallow in triumphalism. But recent events have so thoroughly vindicated my performance over here at the State Department that propriety virtually compels us to linger over them just a bit. Not only do you have General Clapper saying what Secretary Kerry could not bring himself to acknowledge in my interview with him, but I also want to remind you about my recent exchanges with the State Department spokesperson, Jen Psaki, with whom I have a great collegial relationship. Nonetheless, you'll remember these exchanges, Bill, because as a result of them, a baseless charge of sexism was mounted against you from these very precincts. I spent several days trying to ask Jen Psaki whether we are in fact at war with ISIS, queries which prompted her to accuse me of playing word games and, quote, twisting President Obama's words. Within 72 hours, Secretary of State Kerry himself could be heard zestfully chiming in with White House and Pentagon officials that indeed we are at war with ISIS in the same way that we're at war with al-Qaeda. And so one presumes that these senior officials at the Pentagon, the State Department, and the White House, Ms. Psaki's own colleagues, also enjoy performing the twist.
Okay. Do you feel that the State Department, as is, has a handle on how to defeat the worldwide jihad?
Well, of course, it's not solely the task of the State Department to defeat worldwide jihad.
Fine, Rosen. Do you feel they have a handle on it or not?
I think they do, but it might not accord with your or my or other people's ways of going about it. There's more than one way to skin a jihadist cat, if you will. And I think that the route that the President of the United States has chosen is one that's going to take a much longer time, precisely because he feels it should be accomplished with Arab input, as if multilateralism is the only way to conduct military operations.
And that's a good point. And by the way, do you write all this stuff out, or you just memorize it and tell the audience? These run-on sentences, you know, I mean, they go on. It's like the epistle of St. Paul. I mean, the sentences never end. They just keep going and going and going. I have to give you credit. I have to give you credit. You don't have a teleprompter. You're not reading a teleprompter, are you?
No, I don't have a prompter, right. But I'm glad to know that you regard what I say as holy writ, Bill.
No, that's not what I said. I said the literary style of never having a period or a comment is similar to St. Paul. Okay. One more question. Kerry, after you make him look bad, does he take that personally?
I kind of think he does. I don't think he likes me very much.
He called you Jim, though, Rose, and he called you Jim.
Well, you should know, Bill, that in Washington specifically, the unsolicited use of Jim is very common. I introduce myself to people all over the place. Hi, James Rosen, nice to meet you. Yeah, Jim, let me show you the parameters of the problem, Jim. It just happens.
So maybe next time he'll call you Jimmy and give you a little pat on the head. All right, let's get over to Cameron. Now, Cameron, a lot of people don't know this, but Congress isn't even working. They're not even in session. They won't even come back until November, Cameron. So all this ISIS stuff and all of this bombing, they're gone, they're not even there. Is that correct?
Pretty much. I mean, look, Congress did authorize the training of the arming of the moderate
Before they
Syrians
left.
last week. Yeah, and then they did exactly that. And they're not going to be back for roughly 7 weeks until the week after the election. And that puts it, the election's November 4th, so he gets in, they'll all get back here November 11th. And at that point, they're supposed to consider sort of a retroactive authorization for the use of force for what we already know is obviously happening.
And then they have Christmas vacation, I mean, coming up right